Welcome to the second video on solving trig equations. Today we're going to be looking at equations where this value is negative. If you haven't watched the video yet where we are solving trig equations with this value being positive, go back and give that a watch first, as we'll be using a lot of the skills from that video in today's. We're going to start the same way that we did the last video by trying to complete our cast diagram. And we need the knowledge from last day, which is if this value is positive, we always tick the A quadrant and the quadrant where the letter matches the trig function. So in this case, if this was a positive value, I would tick A and T. Those are the ones I would pick if this value was positive. But it's not positive, so I'm not going to pick those two at all. And instead, I'm going to pick the other two quadrants. I'm going to pick S and I'm going to pick C. You don't need to put the crosses on the diagram, but that's just the thinking that I go through when I'm trying to work out what quadrants to tick. We've got a little change now to how we actually go about and solve this trig equation. We do something really similar in that we take the inverse tan, which is exactly the same as last day, but we don't use this value in its current state. The only thing we use the negative for is to complete the cast diagram. After that, we're not going to use the negative again. So we're going to take the inverse tan of 2, positive 2, and that's really important. So a wee rule is that we're never going to put a negative into our calculators when we're solving these trig equations. In our calculators then, we're going to do second function, same as last day, tan, and today 2, I'm going to push equals, and we get an answer of 63.4. If you don't get that, again, could be that you've not got your calculator on degrees and you're going to have a wee look at that. Okay, so 63.4 is the solution to this problem. However, it's not actually one of the answers that I want to the original equation, because this is when the tan graph is equal to 2, not when it's equal to negative 2. Where do I want my solutions? I want them in the second quadrant and the fourth quadrant. And again, it comes down to the little rules in each of these quadrants. In the first quadrant, remember, if it's positive, it's just the answer you get on your calculator. Ours isn't positive. In the second quadrant, it's 180 minus the answer we get on our calculator. And we do want that one. In the third quadrant, it's 180 plus the answer we get off our calculator. And in the fourth quadrant, it's 360 minus the answer we get off our calculator. Okay, so I want the solutions in the second and the fourth quadrant. So my answers are going to be 180 degrees minus this value that I got on my calculator, 63.4 degrees. So whilst this isn't one of the answers, it's absolutely crucial to help me find the answers. The other solution I want is in the fourth quadrant, and you can see the little rule there, 360 minus this 63.4 degrees. This gives me two solutions. It gives me 116.6 degrees and 296.6 degrees. Okay, and these are the two solutions to that first problem. I'm just going to do another one, very similar structure, just again to get you into the flow of these, helping you with this cast diagram. Okay, here's the second example. So the second example, we're going to be looking at sine x equal to, and again, negative 0.8. Okay, first thing we're going to do, we're going to tick our cast diagram. Let's just think about how I did it last time. If it was sine and it was positive, I would tick A and I would tick S. It's not positive, so I'm not going to be picking those, and instead I'm going to be picking this third quadrant and fourth quadrant. Then we take the inverse sine, and really important step here, of the positive value. The negative, we're done with it. It helped us pick the quadrants, nothing else. In our calculators, we are going to do our second function, sine of 0.8 positive, and we get an answer of 53.1 degrees. This isn't one of our answers. We don't have that first quadrant ticked, but it helps us get our answers. I'm just going to write down the rules for these two quadrants this time. In this one, we take 180 degrees and we add this answer that we got off our calculator, and in the last quadrant, 360, and subtract that answer from our calculator. Okay, to get our solutions then, we've got x equals 180 plus 53.1 and 360 minus 53.1 degrees. This gives us two answers for x. It gives us 233.1 degrees and 306.9 degrees. Two solutions to our trig equation. Hopefully that's helpful. We're going to build on this idea in the next video when the equations aren't in quite such a nice format. But hopefully that helps you with solving trig equations in a basic format when the value on the right hand side is negative.